It was Halloween evening in Maplewood, a cozy little suburban town where every porch flickered with carved jack-o'-lanterns, their toothy grins glowing orange in the falling dusk. The trees rustled with wind, shaking loose golden leaves that danced down quiet sidewalks. Fake cobwebs fluttered from fences, and plastic skeletons leaned in lawn chairs, grinning under the soft glow of porch lights. I was 8 years old, dressed in a wizard costume, dark purple with silver stars sewn into the fabric. My hat was too big, slipping down over one eye no matter how often I adjusted it. I clutched a pillowcase in both hands, already dreaming of the chocolate bars and sour gummies I'd trade with my brother later. Usually, my mom would take both of us trick-or-treating. But that year, she had an emergency shift at the town library. Someone called out last minute, and she couldn't say no. So, she dropped me off at my friend Lucas's house, promising she'd be back by 9. Lucas lived just a few blocks away. His family's modest bungalow always smelled like fresh hay and rabbit pellets, thanks to their enormous pet rabbit, Fluffy, who had the run of the screened-in porch. I liked it there. Warm, familiar. His parents were kind, always smiling. But that night, they were out too, attending a Halloween party across town. It was just Lucas, his friend Noah, and Lucas's older brother Ethan. Ethan was 18, technically in charge, but he barely looked up from the flashing chaos of his video game to acknowledge us. "I'm not chasing you around the neighborhood," he muttered. "Be back before 10 or don't." Lucas rolled his eyes and grabbed his plastic pumpkin bucket. Come on. We didn't care. We had costumes, we had candy bags, we had freedom, and the streets of Maplewood were alive. Children in costumes ran in packs. Capes trailed behind superheroes. Witches shrieked with laughter. Ghosts darted through bushes, booing at strangers. Porch lights glowed like beacons, each one promising a new treasure. The night began perfectly. First house, a big white colonial with fake bats strung from the trees. The woman who opened the door wore a witch hat and dumped full-size chocolate bars into our bags. We cheered, already plotting to hit her house again before the night ended. A few houses later, we came across a grumpy old man with sunken eyes who barely opened his door. He tossed a single root beer barrel into each of our bags without saying a word. "Some people just don't get Halloween," Lucas whispered. We laughed and moved on. As the sun dipped lower, the shadows lengthened. The bright, welcoming streets turned darker. The crowds thinned. Porch lights blinked out one by one. The laughter faded behind us, and the cold night air bit at our fingers. We'd wandered into the older part of town. Houses were more spread out here. Weathered, quiet, trees towered overhead, branches creaking in the wind. Some windows were boarded up. Lawns were overgrown. I hugged my pillowcase to my chest. That's when we noticed him. A man, about a block behind us, pushing a stroller. At first, it barely registered, just another adult out with their kid. Normal, right? But something about him felt off. He moved slowly, deliberately. His long black coat swayed with each step, brushing the sidewalk. A wide-brimmed hat cast a shadow over his face, even under the amber glow of the streetlights. He didn't seem to be following us. Not exactly. But every time we looked back, he was still there, still pushing the stroller. We turned a corner onto Birch Hollow, a narrow, cracked street with only a few porch lights glowing, and that's when he caught up. "Good haul tonight, kids," he said, voice soft and smooth. We froze. He stood just a few feet away now. Up close, I noticed something strange. His coat didn't seem to move right in the breeze. It was too still, like the fabric was heavy or stiff. Lucas answered, "Yeah, lots of chocolate." The man chuckled. "That's good. Halloween's all about the treats." He gestured toward the stroller. "My little one's asleep, poor thing. But I've got more candy at my place, just down the street." He lifted a plastic bag filled with wrapped sweets. It rustled like treasure. Lucas's eyes widened. I hesitated, my stomach twisted. Noah shrugged. "It's just candy, Ben." "Yeah," Lucas added. "He's just being nice." So we followed him. The sidewalk was cracked and narrow. Trees pressed in from both sides. The wind had died completely now. No rustling leaves, no distant laughter, just footsteps. Ours and his. The house he stopped at looked plain, unlit, no jack-o'-lanterns, no fake cobwebs, no sign it was Halloween at all. The porch creaked under our feet as we stepped up. He unlocked the door with a large brass key and waved us inside. "Come on in," he said, smiling. His teeth were off, too white, too even, like dentures that didn't quite fit. I stepped inside last. The house smelled stale, like dust, and something else. Something sour. The wallpaper peeled at the corners. The lights were dim, yellow and flickering. The stroller rested in the corner near the fireplace. The man turned to us. "Make yourselves at home. I'll grab the candy from the back." He vanished down a hallway. We stood there, unsure. Lucas wandered toward the stroller. "Is the baby okay?" he whispered. He reached out and slowly unzipped the cover. His gasp was barely audible. It's a doll." We crowded closer. Inside was a porcelain doll, pale, cracked, wearing a frilly white dress. Its eyes were glassy blue, staring straight up. Its hands were tied down with ribbon. Lucas backed away. "That's not right." "Nope," I said. "We need to go, now." The hallway creaked. Mr. Carter reappeared, carrying a large ceramic bowl filled with candy. "Leaving already," he said. His smile had grown, unnaturally wide. Noah stammered, Our parents, they're waiting." Mr. Carter's smile twitched, just a little, but he stepped aside, holding out the bowl. "Go on, take some." None of us moved. His eyes scanned our faces. "Don't be rude." Lucas reached out and grabbed a handful. I could see his hand shaking. Noah did the same. I didn't. We stepped past him, our feet echoing on the wooden floor. He didn't stop us. He just stood there, watching. As we stepped out onto the porch, a cold wind whipped through the trees. We ran. We didn't look back until we hit Elm Street, where kids still trick-or-treated under the soft glow of porch lights. Out of breath, we slowed. I turned once, and there he was, still on the porch, still holding the bowl, still smiling. His hat shifted in the wind, but his coat didn't move. When we got back to Lucas's house, Ethan looked up from his game. "You guys look like you saw a ghost." We told him everything. His smirk faded. He paused his game and listened closely. Then he called our parents. My mom arrived 20 minutes later, her eyes wild, breath short. She wrapped me in a hug so tight I could barely breathe. "You're never going out alone again," she whispered. That night, I slept in her bed. She didn't ask questions until the next morning. I told her everything, every detail. She listened, then said nothing, just stared out the kitchen window for a long time. That afternoon, our neighbor, Mrs. Jenkins, came by. She said she'd seen us walking with the man. She thought he was a new resident, but didn't recognize him. And that house? She looked confused. "That place has been empty for months," she said. "No lights, no utilities. For sale sign's been down since July." My mom called the police. They checked the property. No stroller, no candy bowl, no Mr. Carter. The house was empty. Dust everywhere, cobwebs in every corner, no sign of recent activity. But on the mantel above the fireplace, they found one thing. A porcelain doll, cracked, frilly dress, face turned upward, eyes wide open. The officer bagged it and left without saying much. Years passed, but I never forgot that night. It clung to me, like a shadow I couldn't shake. When I was a teenager, I started digging. Turns out, Maplewood has a history. Every few decades, usually on Halloween, something strange happens. Kids go missing, teenagers vanish during dares. One story from 1953 talked about a man in a black coat, pushing a stroller door to door, offering candy. No one remembered where he lived or who he was, just that he smiled too much. Sound familiar? Sometimes I wonder what would have happened if we stayed, if we'd taken more candy, if we looked deeper into that stroller, if we'd asked about the ribbons, but I don't really want to know. Now every Halloween I stay home. I hand out candy, I wave at the kids, I smile, but not too wide. And when it gets late, I sit by the window, watching, listening, for the soft creak of stroller wheels, for a coat that doesn't move in the wind, for a smile that's just a little too perfect. Because one day he might come back, and next time he might not let anyone leave. Let's move towards another story. It was Halloween night in the sleepy cul-de-sac of Pine Grove, kind of place where everyone knew each other, where porch lights flickered with carved pumpkins, and the sidewalks were usually empty by 9 p.m. I was 19, a freshman in college, and home alone for the weekend. My parents had driven out to visit my sick aunt a few towns over. I stayed behind. Our house was an ivy-covered 2-story with a slightly creaky porch swing and a candy bowl that sat expectantly on a little table by the door. It wasn't a popular trick-or-treating spot. We lived a little out of the way, and most kids preferred the better-lit streets across the main road. But my mom, ever the optimist, still went overboard on candy every year. So there I was, curled up on the couch, in gray sweats, hoodie pulled up, binging horror movies and sneaking candy from the bowl, while my tiny, twitchy chihuahua, Pepper, snoozed beside me. Every now and then the doorbell would ring, and Pepper would wake up barking like we were under siege. I'd hand out generous portions to the few kids who actually showed up. Tiny witches, glowing-eyed vampires, and clumsy superheroes tripping over their own capes. It was a peaceful night. By 8:30, things had mostly died down. The stream of kids slowed to a trickle, and the houses nearby started going dark one by one. I figured we were done for the night. I heated up some leftover pasta, gave Pepper her nightly treat, and headed upstairs to my room, planning to wrap myself in a blanket burrito and finish my third horror movie of the night. I didn't expect the doorbell to ring again, especially not at 9:45 p.m. Pepper went berserk, ears pinned back, teeth bared, barking like she was ready to take on a bear. I paused the movie and muted the TV. The doorbell rang again. Ding dong. A little slower this time. Not rushed, not impatient, just deliberate. I walked softly down the stairs, every creak of the wood echoing louder than it should have. I looked through the peephole. Someone was standing there. A man, tall, thin, dressed in a ragged grayish robe that looked like it had been dragged through the mud. His face was pale under the porch light, but it wasn't clear if it was makeup or a mask. Gray, cracked paint stretched across his cheeks and forehead like peeling wallpaper. His eyes, that's what got me. They glowed faintly, like dim LEDs, or contacts maybe. I couldn't tell. He held a black trick-or-treat bag in one hand, empty. He didn't move, just stood there, waiting. Something felt off. He was too old to be trick-or-treating, too tall, and he was alone. I hesitated, then cracked the door just enough to speak, keeping the chain lock on. "Sorry, we're out of candy," I said, trying to keep my voice steady. He tilted his head slightly, and his lips curled into a smile. "I see a bowl right there," he said, pointing to the table just inside the door, fully visible through the window. I swallowed. "That's for tomorrow," I lied, gripping the edge of the door. He didn't blink, just kept smiling. "Suit yourself," he murmured. Then silence. I expected him to turn and leave, but he didn't. He just stood there. I closed the door slowly, clicked the deadbolt, turned off the porch light, locked the bottom latch too. Still no footsteps, nothing. I picked up Pepper, who was now growling low in her throat, and backed away from the door. Then, without turning on any more lights, I tiptoed upstairs. From the guest room, I peeked out the window. He was still there, just standing, facing the house. I ducked back down and texted my friend Mia. "Weird guy at the door, not leaving, should I call the cops?" No reply. She was at a party, probably couldn't hear her phone. I called my brother, straight to voicemail. I didn't want to overreact. Maybe it was just a late trick-or-treater. Maybe he was drunk, or maybe he thought it was funny to creep people out on Halloween. But something told me this wasn't a joke. Then I heard it, a metallic snap, the storm door latch, followed by the soft jiggling of the front door handle. I froze. Pepper started barking again, louder this time. I rushed back to my parents' bedroom and peered through the side window that overlooked the porch. He was gone. The porch was empty. But before I could even process that, I heard another sound, a low creak from outside, from the backyard, and then a clang. The shed, our old wooden shed where my dad kept his tools, and the ladder. My stomach dropped. I pressed my face to the window and looked down toward the side of the house. And there he was, dragging the ladder, dragging it across the grass like he had all the time in the world. He stopped right below my bedroom window, propped the ladder up, climbed slowly, one step at a time, like he was testing each rung. I backed away, heart pounding, hands shaking. I called 911. "There's a man trying to break into my house," I whispered. "He's climbing a ladder to my second-floor window." The dispatcher told me to stay on the line. Officers were already en route. Then I heard the tapping. Soft, deliberate tapping on my window pane. I turned. His face was pressed against the glass. Smudged paint, cracked lips, glowing eyes. Fog from his breath slowly clouded the bottom of the window. He raised one hand and tapped again. "Open the window, kid," he rasped. I screamed. Dropped the phone. Pepper was going wild. I scrambled to grab the phone and yelled into it, "He's at my window! He's right here!" The dispatcher said to stay inside, that the police were pulling up. And then, the screech of tires outside, flashing lights. He turned his head slowly toward the sound. Then he disappeared from the window. I heard the ladder crash to the ground. By the time the police got to the backyard, he was gone. They found the ladder, the broken storm door, and smeared footprints on the grass. But no man, no vehicle, no trail. It was like he vanished into the night. I spent the rest of the night at Mia's house. I didn't sleep. Just lay there replaying everything in my head, every sound, every second. A few days later, I overheard something at the coffee shop downtown. Two older women talking to the barista in hushed voices. They were whispering about a girl a few blocks away who'd seen someone watching her from the edge of her yard on Halloween night. Dressed in rags, pale face, black eyes. No one ever caught him. There were a few more stories that popped up on neighborhood forums, but they were quickly taken down or dismissed as pranks. Nothing concrete, no arrests, no suspects, but we all knew. Something or someone was out there that night. Since then, Halloween hasn't been the same for me. I don't pass out candy anymore. I don't decorate the porch. Now I host movie nights with friends, with lights on, with doors locked. And Pepper, she's older, slower now, but she still barks like crazy at the slightest noise on Halloween. And I listen, because there's one moment I can't shake. One last image burned into my memory. His face, outside my window, smiling, tapping, whispering, "Open the window, kid." And for 1 second, just one before the sirens came, I swear I saw something in his eyes. Not hunger, not madness, not even malice, just patience. Like he wasn't there to get me that night, but he'd be back, next year, or the year after, and he'd keep coming back, until one day I forgot to lock the window. Let's move towards another story. It was the Saturday before Halloween in Crestview, a college town that came alive when the leaves turned orange and the nights got cold. Halloween was still a few days away, falling on a Tuesday that year, but that weekend was everything. Parties were popping off left and right, costumes were out in full force, and everyone was looking for somewhere to be. My name's Lily, and that night, I wish we had just stayed home. It was me, Hannah, Chloe, and Ava, my ride-or-die girls since freshman year. Our costumes were ready. Hannah was a sparkly forest fairy, wings and all. Chloe went full glam vampire with fangs and red lipstick. Ava was a mermaid in a sequin skirt and shell top. And me, I was the ghost. Pale face, dark circles, a long white dress. I shredded myself. Looked like something crawled out of a 1920s asylum. We'd planned to hit one of the big clubs in town, but by the time we got our looks together and started pre-gaming, everything was sold out or already packed. Chloe checked Snap stories, lines down the block everywhere. No way we were getting in without waiting an hour in heels. That's when Hannah posted on the campus group chat, just casually asking if anyone knew about a good house party nearby. That's how it all started. A guy named Tom replied, said his cousin Nate was throwing a legendary party at a mansion on Hill Street. Supposedly Nate threw one every Halloween, Huge place, old money, themed rooms, professional DJ, the whole thing. We were hyped. Mansion? Hill Street? That area was quiet, rich, and just far enough outside campus to feel exclusive. We didn't even ask questions. Just grabbed an Uber and headed out. 20 minutes later, we pulled up to this huge, Gothic-looking estate. Think Addams Family meets frat house. Ivy on the walls. Stained glass windows glowing purple. Fog rolling across the yard from a machine set up by the porch. It was already packed, cars jammed into the circular driveway, kids in costume pouring in and out of the front door. A guy in a skeleton hoodie took our $5 cover and gave us wristbands. "Welcome to the Haunted Mansion," he said, grinning. "Enter, if you dare." We laughed, didn't think twice. Inside it was chaos. In a good way, at first. Black lights everywhere. Speakers bumping haunted remixes of club songs. Cobwebs hanging from chandeliers. Every room had its own vibe. Zombie bar, vampire lounge, graveyard dance floor. It was like a Halloween maze you could party in. We dropped our stuff in the kitchen and headed to the cooler to stash our drinks. That's when we met him. Mr. Grayson. At least, that's what he called himself. He was standing by the kitchen island wearing a magician costume. Cape, top hat, wand. Looked like someone's dad trying a little too hard. We assumed he was a chaperone, or maybe the owner of the house. "You ladies look enchanting," he said, handing us neon-colored cocktails in little skull-shaped cups. Special mix for the special girls. We hesitated, but we didn't want to seem rude. Chloe took the first sip. Not bad." Ava followed. Then Hannah. I took one too. He smiled. Wide. Too wide. "I'm Nate's uncle," he added, raising his glass. "Welcome to my little house of horrors." We laughed, awkwardly, and moved on. The drinks were strong but weirdly smooth. We figured they were just fruity vodka mixes. We joined a beer pong game, danced, took pictures. Then things started to shift. First, Hannah couldn't stop giggling, at everything. Chloe started slurring her words, leaning too hard on people. Ava got real quiet and then just sat down in the hallway like her legs couldn't carry her. My head felt heavy, spinning, but not in a drank too much kind of way. Something was off. I pulled Chloe aside. "Are you okay?" She blinked slowly. "Just hot." That's when I checked my phone. There was a message open, sent from my number to someone I didn't know. It said, "My name is Lily. I live at 14 Meadow Lane. Come visit me sometime." My heart stopped. I didn't remember typing that. I didn't remember opening my phone. I looked around for the others. Hannah was trying to help Ava stand up. Chloe was leaning on the wall. They all looked drugged. That's when I saw him again. Mr. Grayson, watching from the kitchen doorway, still smiling, still holding his cup. "We need to leave," I told them. "Now." He stepped forward. "Is everything all right? You girls look a little out of it. Need a ride?" I shook my head. "We've got an Uber coming." He took a step closer. "Are you sure?" "I don't mind. I'll make sure you get home safe." His voice was smooth, practiced, like he'd said that line before. I grabbed Ava's arm. "We're fine." I sent for an Uber and helped the girls outside. Chloe stumbled. Hannah looked pale. Ava didn't say a word. And as we reached the sidewalk, I turned back one last time. Mr. Grayson stood on the porch, phone in hand, staring at us. Not angry, not surprised, just watching. The Uber pulled up. We climbed in. The driver gave us a weird look, but said nothing. As soon as we were back at Chloe's, we locked the door and collapsed on the couch. Ava threw up. Chloe passed out. Hannah fell asleep mid-sentence. Me? I checked my phone. There were new messages. From the same number I had texted earlier. "You left early, beautiful. Come back soon. I'm outside your place." The last message came in at 3 or 4 a.m. I didn't sleep that night. The next morning, I showed everything to the girls. They were shaken. Hannah said she remembered Mr. Grayson brushing her hair back behind her ear. Ava remembered someone helping her up the stairs. Chloe remembered nothing, just drinking the cocktail and feeling warm. That's when we went to the police. What we found out made everything 10 times worse. There was no party registered at the mansion. The house, vacant, listed for sale. Neighbors had called about the noise, and when police showed up around 4 a.m., it was empty. No DJ, no decorations, just cups, glitter, and fake cobwebs scattered across the floors. Tom, the guy who told us about the party, said he didn't have a cousin named Nate, claimed he'd gotten the info from someone else. As for Mr. Grayson, no ID, no known connection to the house. The number he used? A burner phone, untraceable. Ava ended up getting blood work done just to be sure, and they found something. A sedative. We were drugged. That party? It wasn't a party, it was a trap. We got lucky. Maybe too lucky. Maybe the Uber showed up just in time. Maybe our costumes didn't make us the kind of girls he was looking for. Or maybe he wanted something slower, more careful. I don't know. But what I do know is this. We were never supposed to leave that house. After that night, we changed. All of us. We don't go to unverified parties anymore. We don't take drinks from strangers. We share our live location anytime we go out, and we always stick together. Crestview started buzzing with rumors. Other girls came forward with weird stories, similar setups, fake parties, creepy hosts, blackouts and memory gaps. Campus security sent out warnings. A few posters went up, but nothing ever came of it. No arrests, no names, no real answers, just stories, whispers, and the lingering fear that one day Mr. Grayson might try again. So if you're ever at a Halloween party in a mansion that doesn't feel quite right, if the host's a little too friendly and your drink tastes a little too smooth, remember us and don't wait for something to happen. Just leave. Because the scariest part of Halloween, it's not the ghosts, it's the people who wear masks. All year round. If you liked the video, don't forget to hit like and subscribe for more creepy real-life stories. And if you have a scary or strange story of your own, send it to the email down below in the description. Your story might be featured in the next video.